Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Evermore YouTube channel and podcast. It's Chris and Mark back on Monday night, asking the same question we always ask: what's going on? I tell you what's going on, Mark. It's a crap evening if you're a Sheffield United fan. That's for damn sure. But just a little reminder, if anybody from Sky is watching this podcast at any given time, just a little gentle reminder: Newcastle United did beat these lot 8-0, by the way. This season, I know you might have had temporary amnesia and forgot about that, given the way you're writing poetry about Arsenal's current scoreline, which is 6-0. Yes, do remember the mighty Newcastle United battered these lot 8-0. So how about that? What's going on with you, Mark?
It's not like Sky to forget things that don't involve the big six, is it? Supposed big six.
Oh, yeah.
Given that one of their big sixes finished in the bottom half of the league last season and still in the bottom half of the league this season. But anyway, that's besides.
Like that time they all tried to run off and join that Super League thing. Remember that? Yeah, they seem to have forgotten about that as well.
Well, did you see the match? Sorry to go off on one straight away, but if anybody saw, there was a poll or some
nonsense.
Some nonsense. I think that's the way to go. Some stuff that has been going on where they've been asking fans from across Europe whether they're in favour of the Super League. Apparently, 72% of all football fans are in favour of the Super League.
Yeah,
bollocks. Absolute bollocks to that.
I think it's like Florentino Perez just making up loads of fake names and just clicking, yes, we'd love it. But you know what? Sod the Super League and sod Real Madrid. This is all about Newcastle United tonight. We've had a cracking weekend. Great result for the lads. We're going to get stuck right into it in a minute. Just before we do, a little reminder. If you are new to the channel, you just channel out for the first time, good evening. This will be a nice, enjoyable one for you, rather than the last few weeks where we've all been a bit doom and gloomy, like old droopy dog. Oh, no. So this one's going to be a good one. So we're going to get stuck right into it. Smash subscribe, come and join us. We're over 6,700 subs, loads of room for you. It's all free content, never more. But if you do want to give a bit back, there is a membership option down there, which you can click and get early access to all the videos. And you're going to get member giveaways, which we are working on members. So keep your eyes peeled for that. We will have a nice little members-only giveaway prize very, very soon for you guys. Well, let's get stuck in straight away, Mark. I mean, the first place to start really is the spark is back, as you've called it. No coincidence. The spark is back, and a certain number 28 is back. More on him in a second. But that was way more enjoyable this weekend watching Newcastle United, mate, wasn't
it? Yeah, I mean, it's funny because the way that things were changed, but it was just such a positive outlook. Even surrendering the ball for good chunks of the game didn't look like it bothered anybody. It actually looked like it suited the team a lot more. They played with a lot more freedom, a lot more sort of expression with the ball. Didn't look afraid to use it, afraid to get forward quickly again, and were clinical when in forward positions as well. So it just overall it was just a much more positive performance right from the off and right throughout the team.
Absolutely. I mean, we are going to get into the kind of tactics in a minute. It was quite funny to hear Gary O'Neill completely refute the tactics about Newcastle letting them have the ball, and then Eddie Howe going, "No, that's exactly what we did," which I thought was quite funny. So he kind of had the two of them very calmly and measured, kind of arguing with each other about one was right and one was wrong. But yeah, it was a lot more enjoyable. I think there was a calmness about the team. I think you're going to look at the tactical tweaks in a minute in a bit more detail, but I think just, having Joe Willock back, just to talk a little bit about Joe Willock separately, having him back, I think I said this in the post-match, it just galvanized the whole team. It re-energized the midfield. The legs were there. The energy was there. You got some great, images in a second just to talk about, his cover for, the likes of Burn and stuff like that as well. But also Isak. I felt Isak had more of a spring in his step with Joe Willock there with him. I know them two get along really well. Obviously, in the thumbnail, got them doing the old guns and the electric fingers, as you put on there. But I just think the two of them gel so well. And as a striker, like Alexander Isak, who plays in those little pockets of space, I always say haunts centre half's dreams when he's fit and firing. Some of the passing and link up play that him and Joe Willock were doing, Mark, and they're both nowhere near fit. There was just some really good signs of that coming back, wasn't it? A la Spurs last season.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they look so comfortable playing. I nearly said playing with each other. That's just so wrong. They look so comfortable playing with each other. Oh, here we go. But they do. They suit each other, and that dynamic between them, the ability for one to sort of, Willock sort of pulls wide, Isak pulls a little bit deep. They can interchange in that regard. What was really noticeable was with those two there was the use of Gordon left but further forward, and it really freed him up to be the real danger on the counter, and that was particularly the difference in sort of style for this weekend. But the ability of Isak to run the defence, of Willock to move around and really be the energy backwards and forwards, and he was great both in those forward positions and defensively as well. It just but the two of them they work so well together, and I guess the disappointingness of this all, and I know we're going to talk about Joelinton later on, is just the fact that he's not there with this as well, because
he's the missing piece, isn't he? He's the missing piece.
You
know, it's like having Iron Man, Captain America, and no Thor in it. You know what I mean? You're missing a key element of that super trio, aren't you? Really, but no, it is good to see them back, as you rightly say, Mark, and good to see options as well off the bench. We talked about this post match. You know, the game was going a little bit flat. And the subs re-energized the game. Barnes, Miley did really well. You know, Anderson would come on for a little bit as well. Miggy looked like he was on form, a bit sharper again, like he was against Blackburn. And these are only good for Newcastle, in the remaining games that we'll have in the season. I suppose take Chelsea away. They're not really a big six team anymore, but take them out of the equation. A lot of them fixtures you probably think would have a really good chance, especially if that Newcastle turns up. But just some of the example, Mark, about going back to Willock as well. Dan Burns had a torrid few months in a black and white shirt. He's been rinsed by anybody with any remote kind of pace. Fans have lost patience with him. They've called for him to be out the team. And I think what Joe Willock showed at the weekend was how Dan Burns' strength in this team relies on people being able to cover up for some of his deficiencies as well. And that makes him concentrate on what he's really good at in terms of his leadership, his ability in the air, those big, long, gangly legs to make tackles. But he needs what Joe Willock showed at the weekend and what Joelinton shows when he's there as well, Mark, if you just want to pull up some of them examples that you had there.
Yeah, so, I mean, cover a little bit of what Shearer said at Match of the Day, and I thought actually he covered it really, really well. But the initial thing was just how deep Newcastle's midfield sort of sat. It wasn't the whole way through the game, but they very much closed off those gaps that were glaringly obvious in previous weeks. You go back to the Bournemouth game, the Arsenal game in particular, we highlighted that gap between the midfield and defence was horrendous, and players able to get in behind with room to turn and room to run, and balls being played from 30 yards through those gaps in midfield. But it was so noticeable that the change in this, and right the way through the first half, you could see this, and it was, pretty evident from the way that, this is the setup to the first goal, and they just blocked off every noticeable gap that was going, sat themselves deep with the threat in behind of the three up front, with that pace. And even, you look at the position of Jacob Murphy. Jacob Murphy spent an awful lot of time playing almost as a wing back.
Had a good game as well, by the way.
Yeah,
very good game. Yeah,
and Trippier sort of took slightly inside for some of it too. So it was a real difference. The highlight for me, I'm just going to skip back that one, but this was the Willock and Dan Burns side. The difference in having that midfielder with energy to be able to get back and cover and help out Burn, for Burn not getting too high. In previous weeks, Dan Burn's probably 5 yards further forward here and gets done. But because he's got the trust in the player that's with him, he can just drop that little bit deeper, allow the player to sort of run and keep him edging away from the goal, because that was part of the problem with the Bournemouth goal. It was edging, he was coming into goal. They're very much focused on what's on the outside. That's exactly what he needs. He needs that support from his midfield, and why he looked a lot better on Saturday as well. The other side of things was this. It was the return of the press. Yeah. And again, right from the off, it was time after time after time that the press was there. They harried, they kept those passing lanes completely blocked off, and made Wolves make mistakes or give the ball away, and it ended up with this break. And this goal was absolutely sensational for one reason only, is you can see Bruno is the sort of the second player in on that second line of, you know, the defensive lines there. You've got the four defenders, the midfield there. When you get into the break, he's not even in the shot. When that ball gets played out from, I think it's Fabian Schär plays the ball out to Anthony Gordon, and Gordon's on one. He's not even in the shot. He's got three players ahead of him who are all fairly quick, by the way, to get past. And he makes it past every single one of them. And none of them track him. None of them follow. It's only at the last minute, I think it's Dawson, gives him any thought. And by then it's too late. It might be Kilman, sorry. That's the one that gets the deflection. But the ground he makes up was absolutely phenomenal.
If you go back and watch the game, someone's got some Kinder Bueno in the crowd and they're just waving them, and that's what made him run so fast. I think to get there, because you know he loves the Kinder Buenos, does Bruno. Just before you move on there, mate, we've got a new member, Roadblock. Thanks for Roadblock for clicking that button. Welcome to the Evermore community. Really appreciate that, mate. So sorry, go on, Mark. You were just saying.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just those differences, and we talked about, and I've jumped straight into the tactical tweak side of stuff. But if I compare all of this to the previous week or the previous home game, and just the difference in the midfield, you look at the positioning of the midfield in terms of the Bournemouth game. Bruno sat in the majority deeper than he was against Bournemouth. Longstaff in a slightly different position, relatively deeper in that regard. He's more to his natural side on the right. The big difference is where Miley sat and where Joe Willock was being dangerous. Very much down that left-hand side, backwards and forwards, whereas Miley was tucked in. He was playing that deeper role and not able to affect things going forward. And it just allowed Bournemouth to be a lot more on top. And I was saying to you before as well, and I know Sean Longstaff got a little bit of stick for the game on Saturday. And having gone back and watched it again, I think he does a lot better than perhaps we gave him credit for. If you go back and watch, he's not involved on the ball as much. But what he does do is he patrols that area and he does block things off. If you just take that comment down, you can see by his number of tackles that's much higher, and his duels won as well, 6 of 7 as opposed to 3 of 6. So he's much more effective in that role than before. Definitely when he's asked to play that role, and it's his more natural role on that right hand side rather than being more tucked into the middle, which he's not really comfortable doing.
Yeah, no, but I would just say Simon's comment did make me chuckle. I do think Bruno collects them toys, and he's just got a room full of like little like tractors and cars and helicopters and things like that. Possibly Simon just wall to wall does Bruno. But yeah, Kevin said it's still only 6-0 Arsenal. Tut. Put your fingers out. Shocking, absolutely shocking, terrible. We would have battered these 7 by now. But yeah, I mean, it was great to see the lads back kind of at the full tilt. And I think more minutes in the legs of those players is only going to make things better as well, really. I mean, the tactical tweaks, we kind of talked about on the tactical tweaks, Mark, that, what we did really well, again, Gary O'Neill refuted this, but what we did really well compared to previous months was we let Wolves have the ball. So we sat back and we said to Wolves, go on, you play it. And the possession stats were way in the favour of Wolves. Which was incredible, really, when you looked at it. Gary O'Neill must have come off that pitch, went in the dressing room, went, how the fuck have we lost that game 3-0? We had so much of the ball, but this was a very different Newcastle United, and you got to give Eddie Howe credit there, because everyone said he hasn't got a plan B and all this other stuff, and I think that was a plan B right there. So rather than us being in people's faces and trying to put them on the back foot, Eddie just said to the team, you know what, you sit back, let them do something. I mean, I must caveat this as well, because we're always fair on this channel. I mean, Wolves were missing some huge players. They were missing Cunha, they were missing Chan. Neto goes off at half-time. The keeper goes off at half-time. So everything really fell in the favour for Newcastle United. I mean, we had to execute that game plan. And in that first half, Mark, we barely had the ball. But to soak up that pressure and then to press as well when we needed to win it back, and with Gordon's pace, with Willock's energy, with Bruno ready to go for it. You know, I mean, fucking hell, towards the end of the game, he's doing no-look passes and 360 turns. And you know, when we're winning a game and we're comfortable, Bruno's got the old Strictly Come Dance and show reel coming out, hasn't he? Do you know what I mean? But Wolves must have been livid at that. But I love to see that side of Newcastle. There was a little bit of shithousery there. There was a little bit of dark arts going on. There was a little bit of that naughtiness again. And that's what made us so successful last season. Do you think that game plan is here to stay, or are we going to change that based on the opposition? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I've said that for weeks. Is about managing against the opposition in front of you, and I think Eddie Howe did that this week. This whole thing, and I take issue with what's the reporter? You responded to him on X.
Oh, Luke Edwards.
Luke Edwards in the week.
Yeah.
And he was talking about, this just proves you've got a plan B, etc., etc., etc.
Armchair supporters, I think he called everybody.
Well, let's pump the brakes slightly on that one, because why? And I'm going to be critical. Why has it taken this long? Is it just purely and simply because Joe Willock is back that you're able to do this? Why was this not done 3 weeks ago against Bournemouth? Why was this not attempted against? Do you know what I mean? Those fundamental flaws that we could all see in the game against Forest and against Bournemouth. Why were they not tweaked in game? Why was that not done at that point? I give them massive credit for coming out and making the change to combat what was in front of them at the weekend. But you have to question a little bit about why it didn't happen sooner. But look, going forward, look, you're in a better position. Yes, Kevin, that's maybe it. Lack of probably a little bit of lack of sharpness as well from players, but there were things that could have been done, I think, in those games, but weren't. And then you saw it, kind of see it all come together in this one, and you go, right, okay, that's what I want. I want to see a little bit of a change from now and again. I want to see those tweaks. I want to see, look, if the team's going to play in a certain way, well, this is what we're going to do. So that was really good to see.
Yeah, I mean, I think as well, missing the centre forwards probably not helped us either. It throws your shape out of balance. You've pointed that out numerous times in terms of the position. And as good as Gordon is at getting into positions and he gets goals, he's not a centre forward. He doesn't play the same way. You take a centre forward out of any team and they look off balance. It doesn't really work unless you're Spain in a World Cup and you've got all the best midfielders in the world who could just rotate in there.
The key example of all of that was on the field on Saturday, and that was Wolves.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're missing their two main forwards. If they'd had a Jimenez in that role, they're a lot more of a threat, because they've got that. I think Gary O'Neill even said it. They didn't have a focal point up front. So it is telling.
Yeah, exactly. There's some great comments going on here, by the way, from some of this Bruno banter. Simon said Bruno would be an amazing Strictly contest. He's got the moves, although Mrs. Gimaresh would probably put the kibosh on it. Some gorgeous lasses and more Bruno. You can imagine him just like doing a fucking foxtrot and then turn around and try to pump the audience up and screaming at Craig Revel Horwood or something like that. The chocolates are flowing. Mini eggs. How are those big bags, man? Where are they, like B&M's or something? Them huge 3-pound bags. Man, they're too addictive.
Do love Carrie's mini eggs, slightly melted in the microwave as well. Something else.
Mini eggs with a nice latte, man. Just get them in the mouth and then drink the hot latte.
On the subject of things that were sweet, the little spin move and that no-look pass.
The no-look pass. The only problem was fucking Miggy Almiron didn't score it. It would have been the goal of the season if he had put that away. I
would give him his due. The first bit of control, maybe slightly off, but he brought it down fairly well. It's just you almost wanted, was it Fulham, where he hits it first time with his left foot into the, across the goalkeeper, begging for that to happen again.
If that had gone in, that would have been so sweet. But it's great to see the lads just playing again with a bit of confidence. And when Bruno was playing like that, it's sort of confidence. Simon is absolutely putting his flag in the ground tonight. Cadbury's cream eggs, the GOAT, is what he's saying. Here's a question for everybody in the comments: how do you eat your cream egg? I used to bite mine off and scoop out my figure. We got 2 minutes. I just bite the top off and just suck the cream out now. How do you eat yours, Mark?
Just on cream eggs, right? As a kid, I remember them making a giant one, because I remember sitting in a mate's house with.
It wasn't full of stuff though.
Yeah, we sat and ate with spoons. I don't know it was a one-off, but my mate who lived on my street when I was growing up in Whitley, he had for Easter a giant cream egg, and we ate the inside with spoons. And I swear I've never heard anybody else say they've ever seen one.
Was that week you were on the intravenous drip in the hospital because of your sugar coma that you're on? Was that the week? Good.
I've
never heard that before.
I also have to agree with Keith. Reese's eggs. Reese's.
No Reese's for me. Reese's. No Reese's, Kev. I'm not having
fine chocolate.
Yeah, no. I tell you what, we should do an Easter show, shouldn't we? Maybe we can get a cast of the Wonka Experience in to talk about chocolate. The unknown can hide behind your fridge with a podcast and just jump out the side or something like that. My God, what the fucking hell was that? Anyway, back to the football. Where
have we gone?
Where have we gone? Now, I think we just added this topic in there just towards the end because it is gathering some speed. And as you touched on, Mark, as well, the only thing missing from that beautiful midfield jigsaw at the weekend was Joelinton. He was in the team photo. He was in the corridor. It was a beautiful moment between him and Bruno having a little cuddle and obviously celebrating the win. But it sounds very much like this deal is close for Joelinton. They're going to be, I think it's going to be a 4-year deal, 100 grand a week. Very interesting that this has seemed to really have accelerated since Dan Ashworth has fucked off to attend to his garden. And that is great for me. That also shines a light on what was Dan Ashworth doing? What were you doing if you're supposed to be the second coming of football Christ? What the fuck were you doing not tying down the best midfielder we have and arguably the single most important player in that squad? What is all that about? I'll drive him to Manchester if that's how shit he is, mate. No problem at all.
The sort of conspiracy is that Dan Ashworth was trying to angle him to go into Manchester United, which is why he was shirking on the negotiations. But seemingly, once Amanda's got a hold of it, that deal's practically over the line. So I've seen figures anywhere from 110 to 150 grand a week. So
worth every penny, in my opinion.
It's that next step up, isn't it? So he's now got to go when he's back and fit. He's now got to come out and prove his worth for that money. But look, he's such an integral part of the squad that you pay the money, man.
Exactly. Oh, Toon hash Terry's chocolate orange. Oh, he's thrown in a curveball. I do like a bit of Terry's chocolate orange.
It's 10 o'clock. I'm starting to get hungry again, man.
I know. I was going to say, fucking hell. Is it Easter already? Let's get the chocolates open. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I think the sooner we get that deal done, the better. I mean, what a great feel-good factor that is. A win back and, getting the team back in your 8th position in the league. If we go to Chelsea and get a result, imagine Joelinton signs that new contract as well. Everything's just going to start feeling good again, isn't it? And Pope is going to be back soon as well, by all accounts. And I mean, I'm not, again, Dubravka made some really good saves the weekend. I did say this on post-match. I think he made some really good stops. He's looked a lot better, Dubravka. There is talk that apparently Karius wants to leave at the end of the season. I can't really blame him. He's played 2 games and he hasn't done anything wrong in the 2 games that he's played. I think his partner is in Italy, isn't she? I think, who is absolutely stunning, by the way, as well as partner. I think we've said that before. Yeah, absolutely. But that's going to be difficult for him as well. So I'm sure he could get himself a club over in Italy in Serie A or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Whether he's a number 1 or a number 2 goalkeeper, he's in his 30s now. Karius, he's not got a great deal of time left in his career, I'd imagine. So, fair play to him. I've got no issues with that. I mean, I think there will be some chopping and changing with the keepers anyway. Come the summer, I think that's going to be a key position. Whether it's a number 1 to go and basically make Pope sweat for the jersey, or whether it's a number 2, I don't know. There's going to be a lot of good keepers up for grabs. Maybe Aaron Ramsdale might be one of them. Who knows? Do you know what I mean? So there might be some movement there. But yeah, I think Dubravka will probably leave in the summer, Mark, as well. Just on Dubravka, what do you think? Do you think he'll angle for a move?
Tell you what, he's playing himself into that number 1 conversation now, though. He's been so good. And he pulled another couple of saves on Saturday where the one diving away to his right where he pushes it away from goal, gets it away from danger. And then the near post one where he's sort of going down onto his knees and he gets his arm up and stops it. They're really, really good saves. He was exceptional midweek. Look, I know we talked about Pope coming back and potentially going straight back in. You kind of stop on that one right now because Dubravka's playing well enough to maintain that and keep that spot. I don't think you make that change quite so quickly. And does it lead into him, those two being 1 and 2, and almost a Raya Ramsdale sort of situation where
arguably
you've got two number one goalkeepers there?
I think Howe will stick Pope more or less straight back in once he's fully fit. I think we'll see Pope come back in.
Just before we go, Arsenal failed to score as many goals as Newcastle against.
Oh, well, there you go, Sky. Did you remember? They won't mention that about you. They won't mention that. David's just talking about Lloyd Kelly being lined up as a replacement for them. We have done a rumour has it on Lloyd Kelly. I quite like Lloyd Kelly. I'm not overly keen on the Billing signing. I know me and Mark kind of disputed this, and we were both different ends of the spectrum here. Mark was talking about squad players. Now listen, if Joelinton stays and Billing is his kind of understudy, then that's maybe not a bad deal, depending on the cost. Because when Joelinton's out of the team, as we've seen this season, it's a huge gap. So, Billing is kind of physical and strong, isn't he? But if I'm honest with you, mate, I'd rather have Louis Miley in reserve and Longstaff in reserve. If you're going to have, because you've got to remember, you're going to have Bruno, Tonali, hopefully, Joelinton, Joe Willock, Louis Miley, Sean Longstaff, Elliot Anderson. We're going to have 7 really good midfielders there. If they can stay fit for the majority of the season, you can chop and change between those players. And, likes of Elliot Anderson and Willock can even play in the front three as well. So you can incorporate that. And Billing would just be a like-for-like understudy for Joelinton and just nowhere near as good. Like a Joelinton, we're talking about chocolate. He would be like he'd be like a mocklet, wouldn't he? Like Joelinton would be Cadbury's chocolate and he'd be like a mocklet, with a Friends reference there.
Another Friends reference, a good one.
Yeah.
I think Joelinton stays. The Billing rumours disappear because I just don't think he comes in. So. I don't think that you go and waste your money, because that's going to be 30 million. You're not going to go out and pay 30 million for a player there in that level that's going to come in and sit on the bench. He's not going to displace any of the midfield three. If you're looking at a three of Tonali, Bruno, and Joelinton, or Tonali, Bruno, and Willock, or Miley, Bruno, and Joelinton, or whatever, he's not going to come in and jump over those guys. So that would be a waste there on more places to fill. Maybe you bring in a younger one to come in and play, as a DM, or you go out and look for a pure defensive midfielder if you want to play that way. But I think you're looking at centre backs, centre forward, another wide player potentially. Although, given how Minter's playing at the moment, I don't think you need to go down that route so quickly.
Absolutely, yeah. He's looked good, and to be fair, Onan has been linked quite a lot from Everton, hasn't he, as well? So that could be possibly something in the summer. There'll be a lot of teams as well, I think, on the borderline at FFP, and they might have to sell a few good players. I mean, there's talk about Aston Villa, isn't there, today? Maybe on that brink, and they're going to have to sell a big player, whether it be Ramsey or Watkins or someone like that. So there could be some good players to pick up in the summer. We've got the seller money, we've got the Adidas money. But one thing is for sure, everyone, Evermore will be all over the rumour has it. So all the players linked. Mark will have the super duper stat computer out, and we'll see how well they fit into our team. And Stu Mag must have already seen our agenda here, because he's already asking, what is the views on the further speculation about St. James's Park? And just as you said that, Stu, there you go. St. Leazes Park is what we've called.
In fairness to Stu, it isn't the title. So
it isn't the title.
It's a bit of a giveaway.
But sorry, Stu. I'm trying to big you up, and he's just taking it away from me, mate. He's terrible. He's absolutely terrible. But
sorry.
yeah, so he's terrible. Honestly, he just pisses all over your dreams, Stu. I'm bigging you up, mate. Respect for your innovative questioning. You're like the lowest lane of the Evermore chat. So yeah, obviously the talk about moving stadium has come up again. It's been all over the mainstream media, the Daily Mail, Telegraph. When Luke Edwards has stopped looking at that picture of Steve Bruce and eating bacon, he's decided to write a story about possibly where the new stadium may be going. And there's been a few different venues there, but we've talked about this before. The current Metro Arena site, which we know the arena is supposed to be moving down near the Sage, and then that land will just basically be nothingness, so they can be bought and smashed down and built up a new stadium a little bit down the road, so you can still play St. James while that's being built and then move into it. Or the one that is gathering a lot of space and time is Leazes Park. Now, this is the kind of rendering of how people think this could look, and you can see the kind of capacities there. 25,000, 17,000. They're talking about this. This could be the real Wembley of the North, Sir Jim Twatcliffe. and we're not asking taxpayers to pay for this either. So what was your take on this, Mark? I mean, St James's Park holds such a special place in the heart of Newcastle fans, but also the city as well. Everywhere you go, you see it. It's the cathedral on the hill. You see it on the skyline everywhere. Even if you're out on a Saturday night, you don't even like football, and it's a nighttime game, you can see the lights, you can hear the noise, you can see the stanchions. It would be a shame to move it, but if you're moving it just not too far up the road there, do you think fans will accept this?
I think they'd accept it a lot better than shifting it onto the riverside.
Yes, yeah.
If you go back to that as well, the thing always got me. If you saw some of the comments around sort of knocking St James's Park down and basically rebuilding it, in situ almost, or so the great thing about doing it sort of that way, you could almost 3/4 build it with the stadiums, open that up, and then you take down St James's, and then you build in the fourth stand in full to be able to complete that side. That would probably work and be able to maintain games being played at St James's Park during construction of the other stadium. Whether or not they get the go ahead for anything like that, it would open up the houses down that side, which I think is part of the concern with being able to expand the east stand, especially.
Yeah. You can't block off the natural light, can you? They talk about
exactly.
glass stands and everything.
But then if you remove the stadium, that opens that up. If you then replace that area where the stadium is now with sort of parkland, a good walk sort of pathways in, it would be a nice way of doing that and maintaining that stadium sort of in situ, just about where it is now. Then opens up the other possibility of, and I saw this message on social media earlier on, potentially turning that terrace into
90 degrees or something like that, isn't it?
Well, no, turning that terrace of the housing down the side, turning it into hotel, like those listed buildings into like a hotel.
All right.
And really sort of sprucing that area up. So that then it's and you've got the fan area down in the sort of where the metro and stuff is. So there's a gap then between the stadium and the and where that is. Of all the options I've kind of seen, I think I prefer that one.
That's more plausible, I think. Yeah,
it keeps the stadium where the stadium should be. It's not shifting out onto a bit of waste ground somewhere else or moving it out of town. It keeps it in there. If they make that front end as well, that would be, I guess, the more southeast facing part of it. If it was going to be in exactly that position, something striking to kind of see as you're coming up as well. I just think that of all the options I've seen, I like that one the best. Whether or not everybody else does, that's up to you as to what you feel would be best. But it just keeps it central, and I think that's what makes St James's Park special as well. That it is so close to the hub, to the centre of the city.
Yeah, and I think it's massive, isn't it? Toon Ash is right saying if they build it in the Leazes, it'd be nice if they dedicate something to Sir John Hall. I think that's a really good shout, given how monumental he was in Newcastle United's history. But I think you're right, Mark. It's I think you look at all the other clubs. We're trying to emulate these clubs. We're trying to be on the same trajectory as these clubs. City obviously leaving Main Road, that was massive for a lot of the City fans. Main Road had a special place in their heart. But now you look at it, the Etihad is their home, and that's the way it is. Highbury, Arsenal, the Emirates, White Hart Lane, Spurs' new stadium. This seems to be the new thing that you do as a football club, and you almost have to embrace that. And you don't forget the memories of the old place, but you have to move on to the new stadium. But you're right, if Leazes Park seems to be almost the best alternative in terms of expanding that capacity to the point where you can get in the number of fans you want. And Newcastle will fill that stadium. There's no doubt about that. We will fill that stadium. The amount of people who want tickets for those games, we will fill those stadiums. And then, as we're talking about this huge, big stadium in the north to host these great events, then Newcastle's got one right there. you know what I mean, in the city centre, and then the pubs as well. The pubs don't lose the trade because they're still close enough for people to go after the game and stuff like that as well. So it's a win-win for everybody, really. But I do think because of the sentimental value as well, and the special place in the heart that St James's Park holds to the fans, there will be people that aren't going to be very happy about it. David saying, can we have a shiny new 80,000-seater stadium on Leazes Park and give the Prawn Sandwich Brigade 15,000 seat boxes and keep the cost down for the real fans? Yeah, we could do, David, we could do. But I think this is only a natural transition of football, Mark, isn't it? We've already seen with the rooftop terraces at St James's Park. You know, this is part of modern day football, isn't it? In terms of the corporate fan, the money tickets, and you know, Newcastle are going to go that way. A lot of the fans have been told that this is the last season of the cheap tickets, and then the ticket prices are probably going to go. We don't know what they're going to go by, but they will go up, you know, and raise with inflation. And I think that may drive some fans away just because of the cost of living crisis. But Newcastle fans always try to find a way, don't they, to afford that match ticket.
Yeah, you give up stuff for football. It's madness. We all do it, don't we? We all give stuff up for the game. It's ludicrous when you think about what people go through to still maintain their ticket. But it becomes such a huge part of your life that you find a way. As Jeff Goldblum once said, life finds a way, or football finds a way in this regard. But it's yeah. You're talking about corporate fans and sort of, I guess there's the tourist fans as well. That is the worry. I messaged you at the weekend, didn't you, when I was watching the stream of the game, and there was the advert for a certain club in North London that wear white, and they were advertising on I can't remember whether it was the Asia market, it was Australian, sorry, for Australian football fans to get their tickets to go to watch Spurs. It's £350 a ticket just for one ticket to go and watch a Spurs game. And that's so some of the big games, fair enough, but it's just it's astounding. I don't know why this keeps shocking me. I really don't. But you know that at some point at some way that is happening now anyway, but that will become more and more. I think if you do get a bigger ground, the club are going to be able to cash in more on that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I just think it's a natural progression of where Newcastle are going right now, and I do think this decision will be coming sooner than later. And you're right. I mean, with football, it was easy for Manchester City to say, listen, we're leaving Main Road and we're building this new stadium, because they were winning things, they were progressing, they were going places, from being the city of old to the city of now. Only small margins, mind you, Eric Ten Hag. Was it 27 shots to 2? I waited till you drank deliberately. To do that
my coffee out,
So yeah, this just seemed a natural progression for football clubs to go on, and Newcastle will be no different. But let's just give a shout out for Mark's mention of Jurassic Park. That's Jurassic Park, Friends and Chocolate. You don't get this anywhere else but Evermore on a Monday night, guys. So you know what to do. Like and subscribe and have more of this random banter reference points as well tonight. But we'll just get a couple more comments here before we move on. Tunash is saying Sir John was behind the original plan in 1997, but there was protests which led to them backing out. I mean, so yeah, I'd love to see Sir John honoured if there is a new stadium built, and hopefully he's God bless him, he's still kind of here kicking around to see it as well, isn't he? Another comment from Keith saying a bigger stadium has to be incoming if we generate much needed FFP money and concerts like Sam Fender last year. Yeah, you're right. That's a great shout, Keith. It isn't just concerts, Mark, is it? Boxing events and things like that. You get all these things getting thrown in to a stadium of that magnitude. Could you not just the football?
Yeah, and that again, I guess you move away from the housing element, and you can start to do a little bit more of that, and that's sort of something that's probably missing. You can start to attract. It is another venue in the off season as well to be able to bring in more and more money into the club through concerts and what have you. That there's a lot of that lacking when you see some of the other guys. I know Spurs have got their deal with the NFL for games there, but you really open up the doors to more money flowing through the club.
Yeah, so I'm just laughing at Jimmy's comment there. I had an ex-wife, but I got rid of her due to inflation. Do you mean deflation, Jimmy? Was there a puncher hole, mate? That's sorry, mate. That's only joking. Niall saying, what do you think about City charging £46 for away fans when we charge 20 for the Carabao Cup? I do think it's a joke. Niall, that's just greed. And I hope Newcastle don't go the same route as that moving forward. I mean, we always talk about this, with the way football fans are being priced out of tickets. And it is a worry for me, Mark, because the next generation coming through, we've got young kids. Our kids are kind of getting into teenagers now. When they start picking up football and following football, the cost of football tickets, the cost of getting the games, these ridiculous kickoff times at 8:00 on a Saturday night in London. I think the footballing world is asking way too much financial commitment from football fans in a world where their wages go, less and less further every single month. And things like that. Niall saying there pisses me off, mate. I hope we don't go down that route.
There's an inevitability about it. I think the overriding thing, I think, with the City game, and I know it's not great for the fans, but the club do get a share of the gate receipts for the FA Cup game. I'm sure, but they don't for the Carabao Cup. So there's that small part of it, but it's just when you've got that. What was it called? The 20s plenty sort of thing where, away fans are only being charged a certain amount. There's absolutely no need for clubs to charge away fans anything more than that, because they don't really make any money out of it at the end of the day. They're a small group. It's not like you sort of 10, 15, 20,000 people. You're making an awful lot more money on it. You think of that away end in St James's Park, you're not packing 6,000 or 7,000 fans into that. 20 is enough. It doesn't need to be any more than that for them, and just guarantees that you get fans that will travel, and it brings the atmosphere up, because you get that backwards and forwards between the fans as well. So I just think if they're charging nearly double, it's scandalous, or double or more. It's scandalous in that regard.
I tell you, it would be value for money. Yeah, that rematch between Boyer and Dyer. We could maybe get that boxing misfits on for that with the YouTube boxers. I would definitely pay to watch that one. I want Shearer in one of the corners as well, because he didn't really do much on the day, did he? Just kind of shook his head and went, for fuck's sake, which everybody else did as well, to be fair. But that would be a good fight. That would be a
Shearer Gillespie on the undercard.
That wouldn't last. That'd be like a bloody Prince Nassim Hamid fight back in the day. One punch and done, that, mate. One punch and done, but that would be a good laugh to see, absolutely. But moving on to the last section of the night, as we always do, which is Out of Tune, where we talk about things that are non-Newcastle United related. Funny enough, the first place to start, you'd allow me for my 2 or 3 seconds of rant session here, Mark. Now, there is a former Newcastle United manager who was probably very happy about this breaking news, because he dislikes this player probably more than he actually dislikes Newcastle United. I'm talking about Paul Pogba, as Graham Souness would say, because he hated the guy with a passion. Now, my whole thing about Paul Pogba, I've talked about him before. I think when we were linked on, a rumour has it, I come on and I said, in my opinion, the single most overrated footballer of our generation, bar none. This guy is an absolute fucking wanker. He really is. Alex Ferguson doesn't get rid of good players, and he got rid of that fucking bloke when he was a kid, before he even broke into the first team, really. Yes, he went to Juventus and done bits. Man United dropped, what was it, 90 million mark to bring him back? He cared more about his fucking haircut and what dancing move he was doing than playing football. The minute he had 2 or 3 good games, he was going to Real Madrid, he was going to Barcelona, he was going to City, he was doing all sorts of stuff. The guy is an utter shithouse, and the breaking news is he's been banned from football for 4 years for anti-doping. Now, any footballer should figure out what drug this bellend has taken and stay away from it, because it clearly makes you the shittest footballer on the planet. It's not enhancing you by any stretch of the imagination, because he's done fuck all since he's gone back to Juventus. I say good riddance to bad rubbish, Mark. I'm sick of this bloke. All this new generation of FIFA fans think he's fucking brilliant. He's wank. He couldn't lace Robert Lee's boots when he was playing for Newcastle. The guy is fucking toilet, and I'm glad to see the back of him. What's your opinion on Paul Pogba getting banned for 4 years, mate?
See, I'm of the other opinion. I think he's such a fantastic... No, I can't even do it. I can't do it. I just can't do it.
You can't even joke. I can't.
He's such a waste. He's an absolute waste of talent. Look, the lad could have been the best player on the planet. He's got all the ability to do it, but he didn't want to. He didn't want to muck in. He didn't want to work. He didn't want to. He would do it for France, but not for his clubs. You get moments of him where he would be excellent.
There's two reasons why he played so well for France, and N'Golo Kante. That's the reason he played so well for France. Because the guy was sat next to him wiping his arse.
And that's fine, but it allows him to go and express himself. But he didn't do that anywhere else. He never ever worked. He never worked hard for his teammates. He was more interested in his brand. He was more interested in Instagram, and that side of things. He just a waste of space. And you're right. Good riddance to bad rubbish, because he's just an. If you're ever going to apply the no dickhead policy to anybody, he's the one you apply it to, because he's the very definition of what you don't want as a footballer in your club. At least we might not hear of him for a while now.
Oh, I think he's done. I think he's absolutely done. I'd be shocked if he's even back in the game after that. I really, really would. And like I say, good riddance. He was never as good as he thought he was. I mean, we were very lucky in our generation, the players that we saw coming through. I mean, we saw the back end of Brian Robson. We saw Roy Keane. We saw Vieira. We saw Gerrard. We saw Lampard. We saw Xavi and Iniesta. Paul Scholes. These were proper players, proper midfielders. This guy couldn't lace any of their fucking boots. Not one of them, man. When these modern day fans try and compare this shitbag next to proper players like that, it just boils my piss. It really does. And then they'll go on some YouTube compilation where they'll pick the moments that he does quite well in. But then you say, if you go back and you watch Gerrard and Lampard, who were scoring goals from 40 yards in like mud-soaked pitches against fucking Wrexham in the cup and stuff like that. These lads were doing it against Wrexham and against the top four and against teams in the Champions League. They were proper players. This guy, absolutely shit. And as I say, mate, the game's better off without him, Mark. There's so much better players. Kev says there, Rob Lee and Gary Speed, again, they were class. The pair of them in their prime were brilliant. Gary Speed was one of the most complete all-around midfielders I think I've ever seen. And he was a class act as well. He wasn't a fucking idiot like Paul Pogba was. Yeah, Roger's a nail on the head. Egotistical bell end, 100% he was, Roger. Well said. Jimmy saying Pogba's up there with Frank Ribery for me, massively overrated and overpriced. And only a face a mother could love. Frank Ribery. To be fair. Harsh but true, mate. Harsh but true, Sadie. Yeah, JT Toons are down to what a player, man. These are proper players, You can't even talk about Pogba in the same breath as them. And well said, Ian, yeah. Balotelli was the same for me. Balotelli had loads of potential. He was another knacker as well. Believed his own hype. I mean, at least with Zlatan, Zlatan was the biggest ego going, but Zlatan had the quality to back it up. You know what I mean?
He cashed his check. He absolutely put the effort in, and yes, he was. I mean, he's the biggest ego I think we've ever seen in football. But he very much backed up what he said. He let his football do the talking when he got on the field. These, especially those two. Again, Balotelli was exceptional, but was just a complete lunatic. But Pogba was just an utter waste of talent.
Yeah, absolutely shit. Absolutely shit. Anyway, moving on from Pogba to another former Premier League player. Now, when he went over to America, I'm getting Die Hard vibes. When he says, "Come to LA, get together, we'll have a few laughs." That's what obviously Hugo Lloris thought, when he was going over to LAFC. He didn't expect to be playing in fucking games like this. He thought these games were well behind him. So if you can just make out in the snow there, that is the former Spurs goalkeeper who sadly was on the end of a 3-0 defeat. And it really was throwback times, Mark, the FA Cup third round at like Swansea or something like that, when we've had a hurricane, snowstorm, blizzard. And my God, LA, mate, what's going on in LA with weather like this? Jesus.
I've got sort of Cambridge versus Marine sort of vibes at this point for that. Really, I mean, the orange ball, the shoveled lines in the snow to get that is a proper 80s, 90s throwback. I love it
massively.
Awful,
massively.
but I mean that
brilliant.
That reminds me of too many football games that I played at school. Yeah, I mean, just phenomenal to see that. It's just hilarious.
Oh, it was. It was absolutely class. I mean, like I say, when you go over to LA, you just don't expect to be playing in that kind of a weather, to be fair. I'm sure when he was watching like Beckham and stuff like that, he was thinking like that, surely that's not going to happen to me over here. And then sadly, the poor bastard was absolutely drenched in the snow. But brilliant.
George's comment, I've just got to bring that up. Castillo Spears first over again. But was it Esprit when he signed for Newcastle? It snowed that day, didn't it? And that was the joke about because he's obviously the Colombian link and stuff. That was brilliant. But that's a great line.
It is. It did snow that day. I remember it was that funny story when they signed him from Parma, and I think it was it the chairman said something in Italian, and Keegan said thank you, and they said he's just called you a wanker or something like that for taking his best player or something like that. I can't remember whose talking it was. It was absolutely class, absolutely superb. Yeah, Kevin's saying that Spree signed in a library in the snow. I do remember that. But it was funny. And Stu Mag saying the snow used to hide the dog shit in the park doing slide tackles. I remember that. When we played football as well in school, used to hide the old dog shit, didn't as well, to be fair. But yeah, that was quite humorous. I tell you, it wasn't very humorous, mate. Obviously, we had a good rant about the disgrace that was Paul Tierney in the Premier League with that ridiculous decision in the Forest Liverpool game. But I tell you what, mate, Spain ain't any better. What the hell was going on here with Jude Bellingham over in La Liga with this referee? Come on, mate. Tell anyone who didn't see it. What was going on?
Well, was it the last second? It's 2-2, isn't it? Last seconds of the game. Ball, as it's about to be crossed in, I think it's cleared from a corner, and the referee waits for the ball to be crossed, and as it's crossed, he blows the whistle, to which Jude Bellingham then scores, and all hell breaks loose, and Bellingham ends up getting sent off for shoving the ref and screaming in his face something along the lines of, what the fuck was that? That was a fucking goal. And yeah, I mean, he probably deserves to be sent off actually for manhandling the referee, but just a ridiculous way to end the game. We've seen that happen before, where referees have blown up when a corner's coming into the box and stuff. But just let that play out for the 2 seconds that it takes. I know they're possibly overtime and stuff, but Jesus Christ, honestly, have some sense about it.
No, it was, I thought the funniest part as well, actually, was when he was talking to Ancelotti when he come off the pitch, and Ancelotti was furious that he got sent off. And there's a clip there when he go over, and he obviously tells Ancelotti what he said, and he goes, "What?" And then the eyebrow goes higher than I've ever seen it before. It's like practically coming off of his head. It's that big, because Ancelotti can't believe, that he's been sent off for that. Which again is ridiculous. I mean, it just goes to show you that it isn't just the referees in our country, that are susceptible to these ridiculous decisions. That referees all over the world are at the minute, and I don't understand what the issue is, Mark. I really don't. Just for something like that, the referee's got to look at that again. They've got to give time and look at a monitor or something and just say that ain't right. I mean, that isn't right to do that. I don't understand what they're thinking.
I mean, I get the kind of the argument. If time's up, time's up. But if the ball's in midair, just let that phase of play end. I know we always we don't always, but the argument always comes back to the way that rugby runs it. You have your 80 minutes, you wait until that phase of play ends, and that's the end of the game. In the same way, if that's happening, if there's a corner, if there's a free kick or something like that, where there's matter of seconds between your watch telling you that your 8 minutes of injury time is up. He said 80 minutes of injury time. That seems like the Premier League.
It'll be that soon, mate. It'll be that soon.
But your 8 minutes of injury time is up. If it's going to take an extra 2 or 3 seconds or 10 seconds, just let that phase play out. And if it, as soon as that ends, if it gets headed away, blow the whistle then. But Jesus Christ, honestly, it just utter madness at that point.
Yeah, we've got a Los Blancos fan in the house there. I think that's Ancelotti smoking a
furious at that,
He'd be absolutely fizzing. Yeah, thanks for jumping in the comments, mate. I'd be fizzing as well. I do love Ancelotti. He's absolutely cool as ice, I must admit. But there is one last thing to say, actually, in terms of, it's not an out of tune, it's very much an in tune. And we just wanted to say congratulations to our skipper, Kieran Trippier, for winning the FWA Northeast Player of the Year. Our very own friend of the channel, Dan Wales, was there as well in attendance in his whistle and flute standing next to Kieran Trippier. I don't know how good the old calf was, but you wanted to say that he's got a trophy that's nearly as big as him, Mark, didn't you?
It's massive. I mean, he's either really, really like. I know I made fun of him a little bit in with pre-game stuff, and I kept making his picture smaller and smaller and smaller, and Dan bigger and bigger. To the point, and it was that point of trying to get somebody to notice it, and eventually somebody did. But yeah, how big is that compared to Kieran Trippier? It's ridiculous. It's honestly huge. It's a life-size thing for him. I'm amazed he could pick it up.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, Trips has been solid. You're right, Marcus. He's been absolutely class. Frodo Baggins, says Ian. He kept saying he hopes he wasn't limping when he picked up his trophy.
You start if he's struggling with a leg injury and he starts to pick up something that's that heavy, you go, just put it down, Kieran.
I was going to say as well, and as George says there, was he playing ice hockey? It is very Stanley Cup, absolutely. And Vincent's just jumped in the comments. Good to see you, Vincent. Yeah. Better late than never, mate. We're just about to shoot, but you can go back and watch us from the start by all means. And if you watch us on the replay, yes, I hope you enjoy the episode. But that's us pretty much done for another week of What's Going On. Thank you, everybody, for jumping in the comments and Los Blancos as well. You go back and shout at them referees again, I'm sure. We'll be doing the same probably when the weekend comes. Well, we've got an extended break because we're not playing until Monday against Chelsea. I'll be back for some previews through the week, but sadly, I won't be here next Monday because the day job calls, so I won't be here. So we'll work out what we're going to do, guys, and we will let you know in due course, I'm sure, in the community tab. But like and subscribe if you can, guys. It always helps the channel grow. Smash that button. Recommend us to family and friends. We're over 6,700 subs now. We're pushing on to 7,000. We've got a great prize for the 7,000 subscriber giveaway that everybody can apply to. And also, we are going to have a members-only prize draw soon enough. We just need to check the goodie box, Mark, don't we, and see what we've got to give away. So that is the plan.
Yeah, we'll get that up. We'll get that up very soon. So keep an eye on the community tab for that. We'll get that up there soon. Yeah, brilliant. And thank you again to everybody for watching, liking, subscribing, and to everybody that has joined as a member. Honestly, it is really, really appreciated. I cannot thank you enough.
It is absolutely in there. We always appreciate it. And good night to everyone. And to Roll Me Kenobi, buenas noches to you, Los Blancos. We'll catch you later, everybody. Cheers.
Take care, guys. Bye.